But we always have fun with these people anyway, and McLean turned out to be a very delightful guy, probably responsible for one of the most hideous things that could ever get stuck in your head. Although you like the song, right?
I love this song. You have a weird relationship with American Pie.
It's a horrible song.
I love it.
Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Took my Chevy to the levee because the Vega engine died. Yeah, because you were just going to throw it right into the banks of the river. What are you talking about? Just let it go right off the cliff, like you were Matthew McConaughey trying to sell Lincoln Continentals. So McLean was pushing a Christmas album. That's why he came on the show. He's talked about Bye Bye Miss American Pie for 50 years. I mean, how much more can you milk that thing? Although,
done well.
Wow.
Milk the shit out of it. It's in movies.
Worst song that gets stuck in your head, Bye Bye Miss American Pie or You Light Up My Life, Debbie Boone, who we also spoke with about the very same thing.
Yeah, the Debbie Boone one is the one. American Pie I like, and I don't mind it. The Debbie Boone one, and she agreed with you, which I appreciated.
It's annoying.
That's rough.
Yeah. You light up my life.
It's very soapy.
Fuck, what are you talking about?
No one makes you feel that way in real life. Like,
yeah, imagine you're on your knees and you're singing to this woman that has stimulated you to a point that you never imagined you were capable of going to. You light up my life. No, you don't, man. Usually it's like you may as well just be, it isn't like you're putting water on a fire, man. I mean, what are you talking about? Just dousing the flame of what burns inside me and making me feel like it wasn't even worth living anymore. Right? Why doesn't somebody write a song about that?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I don't know. I think it's a toss-up, Lubie. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this midweek edition, a Wednesday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest along with one Mike Lubitz. A very festive day. I mean, there was a lot of kvetching going on yesterday, a lot of anxiety expressed on the show after that hideous Dolphin loss. and it divided the Dolphin community here and the South Florida community that roots for the Dolphins, I guess people around the country, into two very distinct camps. I'm not sure which one is larger, Lubie. The camp that says, hey, shrug it off, we're 9-4. Second best record in the AFC. Have a head-to-head matchup coming up with the Ravens. Can decide the issue right there. That's where it should be decided, everybody, on the field. Oh, I'm sorry, Lubie. I know that's a sore subject.
I didn't even think about it. The Dolphins is enough pain.
The fucking.
I love the name.
Yeah, I mean, that whole theory, and that was the reason that they started a college football championship to begin with, wasn't it? So that they wouldn't have to have voters decide what was going to happen. And the very thing in what should be the last year where you really have reason to cry and bellyache. In college basketball, yes, a team can be a low seed. We've seen it many times, make it into the Final Four, maybe even have a realistic shot of winning the national championship. They go 68 teams deep now.
68, I mean.
How much crying can you do if you're the 69th team and you got jobbed? You really can't complain, right? Just do a little better during the regular season. I mean, if you're undefeated and you're left out, that's something else again. But
even those teams find a way.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say that it's more than fair, the opportunities that are given to college basketball teams to compete for and win the national championship. Now, you do get favorable seedings where Duke gets a nice, easy path every year. They seem to map that out, try to find a way for the Dukies to make their way into the Final Four without the path of least resistance, the one that I like to take all the time, Libby. What's wrong with that, by the way?
It's fine.
You really have to prove that you're some macho animal by facing tremendous, overwhelming, and difficult to overcome obstacles, or just take the easy way, huh? Inherit a bunch of money and ride it right out the door. That'd be the way to go. Pass a path of least resistance. But the two camps with the Dolphins, it seems like that's the much smaller contingent because the Dolphins do always resurrect an unfortunate syndrome that people are very much afraid of if you're a Dolphin backer, and that is the December decline, where they blow their opportunities in the month of December. Now, that wasn't true. Maybe they should bring back Brian Flores, right? Wasn't he red hot there in December that year? They went 5-9.
He was great at sucking at the front,
Yes. 0-7 to start the season.
He was really good at that. You just need to combine the Dolphins of like the 90s and Brian Flores, and you'd have like the Patriots.
So many times, yeah, we witnessed it though, where the Dolphins would choke off a game in December, turn out to be a key game. I'm not as optimistic about this schedule that they face. I mean, they do have what appears to be, or what would have appeared to be, another gimme against the New York Jets. Excuse me, Jet fans. Jet fans resurrected their hopes a little bit based on that second half by Zach Wilson, where he put up 30 points in a ball game. Give me 1 second here, Lubie. I got to clear the throat.
Yep. That actually, what is great is the Jets fans can both be more confident in their team and still hate their quarterback. Like, he played better.
Yeah, they want him gone.
Gives them confidence, and they still don't like him.
I'm not sure that. I mean, is it fair to make that judgment? That was Steve Serby, who is a columnist and writes a lot of football. In fact, he's got a Q&A today with the agent for Tommy DeVito. I didn't realize that Sean Stellato, the guy, this is the guy here that you saw. Doesn't he? He looks a lot. I thought that was Eli Manning wearing an outfit, didn't you? When you saw him on the sidelines, did you see this guy?
No, I didn't.
Can you make that out? I mean, is that?
Yeah, I see the picture fine.
Okay.
Al Pacino in a movie from like the 70s, but he
looks like a gangster, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I don't know. I didn't see that in like real time.
I knew nothing about this guy. I wasn't really listening to the sound when I was watching the game, and I saw this guy, and I thought he was Tommy DeVito's brother, but he's his agent, a guy named Sean Stellato. Apparently has other clients, although they didn't name any of them. And Tommy DeVito wasn't exactly a high-profile client. This is very Brett Tesler-esque, is it not?
Yep.
That you had Stellato representing a guy who was undrafted. Apparently, he actually told the New York Jets, who had made a call and wanted Tommy DeVito to try out for them prior to this year, which would they not be better off with Tommy DeVito than Zach Wilson? That's a good question.
Honestly.
An undrafted free agent who was an afterthought on the roster and was behind both the starting quarterback, Daniel Jones, and Tyrod Taylor. Both of those guys had to get injured, and then Daniel Jones had to go down again for Tommy DeVito to even sniff the field. And then this Cinderella story has unfolded, and this Sean Stellato guy apparently has represented other players or represents other players, and he himself was a college football player at Marist, not exactly high profile, and played in the Arena Football League. And he dresses like this because he's got just his own bizarre style. So he's part of the story. But you would swear, I'm going to show you this picture again, Libby. You tell me that you didn't think that was Eli Manning supporting his Giants by wearing kind of a mobster costume in celebration of the idea that Tommy DeVito was actually, and it was not an easy decision, I would imagine, for Brian Daboll to make, where Tyrod Taylor is healthy again. Tyrod Taylor not going to, move anybody to tears that he's your starting quarterback. Well, he might. But no, he's been a competent, long-time backup in the National Football League. And when given the opportunity to start, every now and then you see Tyrod Taylor showing signs of life. This isn't like Colt McCoy or one of these guys coming in there. Tyrod Taylor's a relatively decent quarterback.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
He's been around a long time. That's sort of his issue.
That's not always a sign that you're any good.
No.
I mean, but, you'll see these backup quarterbacks. A guy like we got to know a little bit from various appearances on radio and road to Super Bowl, Charlie Batch.
Yeah. Every year
was a guy that forever was like, Charlie Batch, who gives a crap about him. And then he came in, distinguished himself a little bit as a starter. Never really got to the point where you thought, wow, I sure feel good about the fact that we have Charlie Batch as our starting quarterback. But it wasn't like it was an atrocity. It didn't leave you feeling like you had no chance to win the game.
No,
you might have felt that way about DeVito, but they don't feel that way anymore. They love this guy. Absolutely. He's on the front page of I would imagine, I don't know about the other New York publications, but he's on the front page of today's New York Post, his whole story. Front page, Tommy DeVito. You think this is DeVito mania?
Yes.
Back page, Tommy DeVito.
It's one of their own, I guess. I don't know. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I don't get it.
The world's at war, and we got Tommy DeVito on the front and back of major newspapers.
I don't care about that. That's fine. I just don't. He hasn't done anything.
He hasn't been bad at all. No, he's acquitted himself very well.
He's fine, but he's not putting up 400. It's not like the Will Levis first game where he had 300 yards, 4 touch. Like, he's putting up nice numbers. Like, they're winning with defense. Saquon Barkley is healthy. They're running the ball.
Right.
Look, he's not turning it over. That's Danny Dimes' biggest issue. Is he fumbles the crap out of the ball. Like he fumbles it a lot. Like he actually isn't a horrible quarterback. He just gets in his own way a lot, and DeVito's not doing that, and I appreciate that. But like New York, Philly, you know, the Papali was before my time, but I saw the movie and we've had him on. Like the Northeast, they love their own. The Boston, when the Patriots get a real Boston kid.
Yes.
Like, hey. Like we get South, I guess we're used to South Florida kids playing great. So it's not a big deal when we get fucking, like when South Florida kids play well, we're like, yeah, that's normal. It's South Florida. We have the most talent of any fucking region in the world.
Is that true? I mean, do we have more talent than say Los Angeles? What do you think?
We're right there. Nowadays, if you want to do region, yes, South Florida, it's not even fair.
Per capita, probably. That would make sense. I mean, by number of population or people.
We can cheat and say Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. So like that region, there's nothing like that. Like Texas is great.
Oh, Texas too. Yeah.
Good. California, the Los Angeles region, because it is a big area, is special. South Florida is not even fair. Like literal entire programs are built on that area. So like to me, a South Florida kid playing well, we're like, okay, like yeah,
it's not a big surprise. I mean, you know, New Jersey is not necessarily a
bastion. Yeah, it's not like
they don't produce a great number of tremendous football players. You would have thought maybe Rutgers would have had a better program based on the fact that they could recruit New Jersey, but that really hasn't been the case throughout history. Yet you would think that you would have a lot of excellent athletes coming out of that state. I mean, it's borderline New York. New York produces tremendous athletes, but not as much. You don't see it in football as much. New York is more known for kids that play basketball and baseball, for sure.
Basketball, 100%.
And you would think California naturally was going to be the hotbed of baseball talent. I just remember I think about this in the span of a 20-mile radius. While I was covering high school football for a couple of years out in Southern California, at the same time, virtually playing at the same time at different high schools that were not far apart, you had Anthony Munoz playing in Ontario, California, and Ronnie Lott playing in Rialto, California, and that's the caliber of talent that you were looking at there. And they weren't even necessarily, the top guys. I mean, people knew of them. Munoz, I guess, was renowned all over the place, and Ronnie Lott also. But they had quarterbacks that received far more attention. So, it was hard to convince me in the beginning that Florida was better overall in terms of a recruiting base for talent. But I guess Howard pointed that out to us, Howard Schnellenberger. Gotta draw a line right there at Palm Beach and declare the state of Miami, and we have to control the state of Miami. He was right about that, right?
Yes.
I mean, that was all the way back in the early 80s, and turned out to be more than true. And, just look at the recent results on the high school championships, where in the state of Florida, you would think that some podunk town might be able to be a football factory.
Yes.
And yet, is that a large number of championships for 3 South Florida high schools to win state championships?
In other regions, yes. Here, no. I think Thomas has won 5 in a row. What have they won? 40. Heritage has won a lot.
Are they in some qualification or classification that?
No, they were.
That makes it impossible for others to compete. St. Thomas,
be in 6A or 7, whatever the highest one was. I don't know if they still are.
What a factory, huh?
They're pretty good at maneuvering, so maybe they've maneuvered out of there. We'll have to ask Conjemi. I know he keeps track a lot closer than we do. But with Heritage, Miami Central, Miami Northwestern through the years, now Chaminade Madonna has become a power. Cardinal Gibbons, Nova, U School was really good for a while. Like it's just normal here. Like, and I'm not judging. Look, when
American Heritage, didn't they get
really yeah. Like, look, when a kid comes from my high school, it's like, oh shit, Piper, that's fucking cool. Like I'm not judging them for having the hometown hero, but it feels like they're really good at pumping up their own, and it's like, okay, like the Giants still are bad.
I'll never forget this. I don't know, were you there that night, or this might have been prior to us making the connection, but with the George Smith appearance at Landlubbers?
Before me.
I couldn't believe it. You would have thought that Vince Lombardi was coming back from the grave to make a public appearance. The place was packed. you've seen good crowds there at Landlubbers, no doubt, for your many live trivia competitions, but wall-to-wall people. I have never seen a crowd like this. If Soufrene was ever going to complain about the advertising dollars he invested, that one night alone would have more than compensated him for his faith in our programs and ability to bring people to the place. And then, I mean, the treatment of this guy, in a way, he rolled in. George Smith, the coach, head coach, I guess he became the athletic director there. He might have been both at once, I would imagine. But he was essentially running South Florida high school football, George Smith.
Yes,
It was unbelievable. And probably, I don't know how many championships did he win, but yeah, you could see the regard they had for high school football. I didn't realize how big it was in the state. That was certainly an eye opener for me when I saw the reverence with which this guy was treated, George Smith. I'd already known about his reputation, and this still blew me away. The number of people that they were literally outside. Lubie couldn't get into the place. Incredible. You would have thought that Taylor Swift was passing out free tickets to her Miami appearance. To see how many people were just coveting a space in there inside Landlubbers to get close to this guy, George Smith. But, yeah, I mean, all that being said, certainly it's an interesting story, this whole Tommy DeVito thing.
Yeah.
With the Jersey aspect to it, the Italian-American thing. And where does it go? I guess that would be the question. Lynn Sanity and Mike Vaccaro has a column today comparing it to Lynn Sanity, which is the obvious parallel that you would see, drawing to a guy who lit it up for a short period of time in New York, coming from almost impossible circumstances in terms of recognition and even the remote chance that they were going to an opportunity to sniff the court and make something happen. And then the way they made it happen, I don't know, was Jeremy Lin's brief tenure as a catalyst for the New York Knicks. Did he do more in that time? I would imagine it's even more difficult to quarterback a losing team to 3 consecutive victories like that. This team was terrible. I mean, they were decimated by injury and poor play. They had regressed to a point that you could have never imagined coming off of last year's kind of charm season where Brian Daboll was the coach of the year. I mean, there was speculation earlier that maybe this guy should go. Imagine that. Guy's coach of the year. What are we talking about here? Only Joe Girardi. I mean, how often does that happen? I guess it happened again recently where the coach of the year was canned. Didn't that happen again in some sport very recently? Oh, yeah, Monty Williams. Monty Williams in
NBA.
And maybe he should have been canned. Maybe this guy was onto something. How is that possible to have a coach that's a $10 million a year coach? He's got all this young talent. What happened here? We'll have to talk to Grant Long. How is the team? They were 2-1, and now they're 2-21. The Detroit Pistons. That's pretty incredible. But yeah, it was a mess. New York City, all the way around, and this story is galvanized. As we were talking about with Dave Hyde yesterday, you're talking about a galvanizing force here, and that's really the essence of the story. As a team that is 5-8 feels far better about itself today than our Miami Dolphins do at 9-4. So what do you think? What's the direction here, Lubie? How tepid are you after all of these questions were raised? Now the center is out for the season.
Yes, that's it. I wasn't trying to be a negative guy. Good teams have lost to bad teams. We've seen that all year. That was the Dolphins' thing. At least we're not losing to the bad teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens and the Bengals before they sort of fell off and now I guess are back on the wagon. My problem was why they lost. It was because of injuries, and the guys that were injured have been injured this entire season. And the guy that's the most important, it's not Tyreek Hill. It's very much like the Niners. Tyreek Hill is how they devised their offense, but he played the whole second half. The offense still sucked. It's Connor Williams, and we've talked about this during the year, and no one pays attention to it because of Armstead's big money. Connor Williams, they haven't had Armstead all year. The offensive line actually played really well. Austin Jackson looks like a Pro Bowler.
They just gave him an extension, big contract.
No one's ever heard of, because Connor Williams made their life easy. When Connor Williams is out there, he takes on so much responsibility that everyone else doesn't have to do a goddamn thing. So it makes them all look great. The minute Connor Williams is gone, Austin Jackson looks like Austin Jackson again. Kendall Lamb, some guy you found at a Walmart. Whoever the left tackle is, some guy you've never heard of. He's their best player on offense. He is not even Tua. It's Connor Williams, because when Connor Williams is out there, Tua can do the thing where he can sit back there for 2-3 seconds comfortably. It's night and day. And when he went out, I was like, oh, that's an issue, because every time he comes back, he goes out again. And then once we got that news, I was like, okay, they're done. And it's not to be negative. It's their offense sucks. Yeah. Like, it's not even okay. It's bad without him. And I don't know and I don't know how they recover.
We'll see. I guess, you get a test here against the Jets of some sort, and should be a free pass to be in 10-4. And then the real, the real statement will be made about where this team is at. All right. In response to our good friend Jim Sarney, I did want to bring up this LSU McNeese State game. What a disgrace, Jim Sarney. You know that LSU, this is women's college basketball. Jim wanted us to bring up the 133-44 beating that LSU put on McNeese State. Okay. And this is one of my biggest problems with women's college basketball and a lot of women's sports is they're lacking in depth for some reason. I've said this before. I used to, we weren't really big fans. So when you were doing boxing, I was doing boxing on TV, and I told you, Ferdy Pacheco walked away when they insisted that he calls a women's fight. He actually left the set in the middle of the show and said, "You call this one. I'm not having anything to do with this garbage." All right, so I mean, there should be some, there might be some questions about whether women's boxing is necessarily appropriate, where two chicks are beating the shit out of each other for entertainment. I don't know if they want to do it; it's fine. I mean, it's a great workout. You don't know if you want to see them engage in a ring, but the problem was, I mean, there were just too many mismatches all the time because there wasn't any depth. You would have one or two women who could actually fight and look like boxers. Christy Martin, remember they were featuring her, the coal miner's daughter. She could box a little bit. I don't know about Layla Ali. I'm not sure how good she was as a boxer. She's kind of hailed as being one of the best of women's boxing. And yet, I know.
I remember her being a big deal. I don't know if I ever watched her fight, though.
I'm trying to think. I mean, she fought Joe Frazier's daughter, believe it or not. But I don't know. She wasn't as impressive to me as the hype that surrounded it, although a lovely young lady and obviously very accomplished and with a great deal of depth to her. So, I mean, I'm a fan of Layla Ali, but I don't remember seeing her boxing going, wow. I mean, this guy reminds me of woman reminds me of Salvador Sanchez or something.
Well, that was the problem. It's why she was the reason, I think, why you were like the depth, her and Ronda Rousey, because I don't know how good you are if you're playing garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to judge you against the crap. It's like, it's easy to be Mike Tyson and beat the tomato can from the corner, but like, I don't know what you are until you beat. And that was the
question about the Dolphins too. Yeah,
and that's the thing. So that's why women's sports is sort of look that tennis. That's why women's tennis was always heralded, because there
is depth in women's tennis, no doubt.
Talent. Going back to Billie Jean King and then Navratilova and Chrissy Everett, like you would have greats at the same time beat each other's ass. So you could go, okay, this person, you could judge it. It's hard in women's basketball. Like when you see these stupid ass 150 to 22.
What kind of garbage is that? There was a 47-0 run in that game.
Like,
I saw that on a crawl last night, and I'm thinking,
even when
how could you watch this?
The men still play Canisius, like your Syracuse will play Canisius. It's still within 30.
Yeah. They beat them by 90 points, 89 points.
Like, come on, like what do you?
And that's a topic for discussion, Jim. Come on, baby, I love you, man. But
I'm sorry, man. Like that's a lot.
The Kraken beat the Panthers 4-0. You know, we should allude to that. Although the Panthers been playing well, I was looking at the. Of course, I'm big with the standings, Lubie, and the Panthers are right in there. Boston with 39 points. Florida's got 36 in spite of that loss last night to the Kraken.
Oh, nice.
They were kind of, a little bit off their game last night. I don't know. Going out to Seattle can be rough. No, and they were coming off a nice win against the Columbus Blue Jackets, so they've been playing well. And then what is it? Oh, we mentioned this Messi thing. Now, what is he doing going to Saudi Arabia?
I don't know.
You know that the Inter Miami is the 2-1 favorite to win the championship this coming year.
Oh, next year. Yeah, well, because they have him, they'll bring back, I think, the other two guys, and they want to go and get more.
So it's a team that was horrible.
Yes.
What a turnaround, huh? I mean, and that might turn out to be, never mind Ohtani, that might turn out to be the shrewdest business deal ever. Bringing Messi here to lift and elevate the image of a team that is absolute dog shit in a franchise that was supposedly one of the worst run franchises in the league.
Oh, yeah. It was a disaster.
People were stunned at the ineptitude of Jorge Nomas and the fact that they got Beckham and they still stunk. Firing coaches, drawing no fans. somehow they orchestrate this deal for Messi. Now they're playing in front of the Saudi Arabian prince there and helping honor the integrity of a great country. So yeah, I mean, come on, Jim, give me a break. McNeese State, 47-0 running a basketball game. At that point, don't you just throw in the towel? I mean, come on.
Get out of here.
Kim Mulkey. The hell is that?
I love Sarni, but it's hard.
Imagine you're watching that game. I mean, on what basis would you continue to watch that game when you see a team rattle off 47 unanswered points in a basketball game, Lubie? If that happened in a football game, they would declare it, just unconstitutional to ever have the same two teams get on the court again or the field again. No, that was a disgrace. So all the way around. McNeese State losing by 89 points. 89 points. So you rarely see teams total 89 points in women's basketball.
Honestly,
could have been an 89-0 ball game. Well, it was 47-0 for a period of time. I mean, what kind of bludgeoning is that representative of in any other sport?
Stupid.
Like 100-point loss in football? That's incredible.
I don't equate it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, Jim. I don't know that we could, really find much to examine there. I mean, except the insanity of having that team on the schedule.
Check out the Sarni Scrolls if you want all this fakakta shit.
I love the Sarni Scrolls. No, man, and it's perfect for Jim. It really is. It's absolutely the perfect. There are vehicles that are perfect for every form of communication, and that happens to be a beautiful thing. I'm a big fan of these sort of. They used to call it a tidbits type of column. Loved it. One of my favorites was L.A. Herald Examiner, the late great Alan Malamud, who was appearing as a reporter in the Rocky movies. Alan Malamud, who was probably in a lot of movies. He was the sports editor of the L.A. Herald Examiner. It was kind of what the Miami News was to the Miami Herald back in the day, where the paper itself. Oh, there he is. Wow, you would.
You're talking old school.
Yeah, no, this is old school. I mean, it's. I was starting to feel Tony Segreto here.
He's in his wheelhouse.
Remember the Miami News? I mean, wasn't the Miami News one of your favorite sports publications? They had a great sports section.
It was much better than the Herald.
Much better? I don't know about much better, but it was better. I mean, it was an interesting alternative.
They would come in the afternoon. I used to have the Miami News route, paper route.
Oh, yeah? You were tossing it?
Yeah, and I had both. And,
okay.
I'd get up. I'd get out in the afternoon. I had 40 papers. And I'd have to porch them, and they were they were thin, they were great, they were quick reads, and they were some of the best writers.
They had great sports writers, yeah. A couple of my favorites. Tom Archdeacon was there.
Rich and his wife. What's her name? God, I just lost it.
All right. I'm not sure who you were talking about, but I mean, it was really a great sports section.
Great.
It was a funny layout to the paper. It wasn't necessarily as artistically put together as the Miami Herald. And the Herald, I think, had to at that time. Competition is good because I think they had to keep their game at a high level also because of the fact that the Miami News was an enjoyable read, and they offered the sports writers a lot more space to develop things. Archdeacon would write these, very free-flowing, eloquent feature stories, and sometimes, they would take several pages. Whereas I don't know if the Herald was allowing that kind of space for their feature writers.
No, they didn't. They didn't, and I miss the Miami News. I miss getting that afternoon paper.
It was great too. Tom Jicka handicapping both ends of a dog racing doubleheader, like a whole page dedicated to the mutts. I loved it, And then they had what was Jim Milner? I believe I don't know. You remember a guy named Jim Milner? He was the horse racing writer, I believe, for the Miami News. Jim Milner, and he was great.
He was great.
Who was the old guy? Luther Evans. Remember Luther Evans? He was doing horse racing for the Herald.
He was the Herald guy. Luther was he kept reinventing himself.
He was sort of distinguished. Didn't he do like dolphin beat writing at one time as a young guy?
He was Dolphins. He was Hurricanes, and then he did horse racing.
Yeah, he was. I knew him from the track, of course, and Dick Evans, his brother, actually. I mean, to show you how the sports landscape has changed, he used to dedicate a Sunday column to bowling.
Yeah,
that's right up Jim Sarni's alley, right?
Yeah,
bowling. Yeah, he had a column about bowling.
Oh God.
Bowling.
Oh God.
Luther Evans was also the boxing writer, I think. Yeah.
Bowling was big. Bowling was big back in the
I love
60s
bowling
and
growing
70s.
up,
You
but
kidding me?
I was a
Look at
fan.
those guys.
Look, Lubie's an accomplished bowler. Don't
love
dismiss him as a
bowling. No, I love
bowling expert.
Paula Sperber, Dick.
I grew up watching bowling, but I'm just saying to like read about it.
Every week, every Sunday, man. I
Every
mean,
Sunday.
I looked forward to it. The Dick Evans column on bowling. And I thought, wow, how does this guy have a job writing bowling? And that's all he's doing. Well, I think we had a PBA tour stop here. I don't know how long it went on.
We did. We
Yeah.
had a women's.
They had a men's tour here. I remember going down to Don
Men's
Carter
tour.
Lanes in Kendall to cover
men's
that.
tour lasted about 4 seasons.
Yeah, I think it moved to Broward. It was all the way down there in Kendall. But I was a big bowling fan, so I went down there. I remember being all excited to meet some of my some of the guys that I had high admiration for as professional athletes.
And all they did was throw a ball down the court.
It would seem like I had aspirations of being a pro bowler at one time, Tony, and I figured this. I was good in a lot of sports, but I was never going to be good enough to be a pro basketball player or a baseball player. But so I thought, wow, what's the easiest way to be a pro athlete? Bowling. You only need one shot. Basically, it's the same. It's the same application of one shot, no matter what the situation is in bowling. Right? You're going to hook that ball in there and hope it hits that 1-3 pocket. So if you could master one shot, one motion, you could have been. And Lubie averaged like over 200. He said, like as a junior high school player.
Hey, no, it was like 189. I had an average.
Listen, real quick, I want to mention, not to forget in our site, Chris Everett.
Yes,
he is fighting another fight against the cancer, and she's positive she's going to be back. And I just want to state that there's a woman she's proud, she's strong, and has integrity to take the people along on this journey. And I just want to mention that.
She's also like a very. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily think that she would be as engaging with people as she is, because she was kind of quiet and reserved as a player. And yet a great personality, and if you see her somewhere, like she's not one of these people of celebrity status that is inclined to blow you off or shine you on or make you feel like you're inferior in any way.
I got along with her great, and we suffered the same divorce as same time.
Oh
yeah, and just I consider her a friend, and I just thought I'd mention that.
Oh yeah, no, a worthy tribute there, because Chris Everett, she boldly came back and was doing broadcasts again, and it was very enjoyable. And then
just came up, and
and then I saw that story, and it was unfortunate. Yeah, Leslie Visser and I were exchanging some sentiments on that, and we'll certainly wish her all the best in her fight. This Andy Mill, who she had been married to for a while, the skier. I don't know if you ever saw the piece. I think 60 Minutes had documented her battle with cancer and her relationship with Martina Navratilova. And Andy Mill, it turns out, years after they were divorced, has come back and essentially been like the guy and the person that is guiding her through all of this. Yeah, taking her to all the hospital appointments, sitting there with her holding her hand. I mean, it's really been a mensch of a human being.
And Martina's back in it too, so they're all there supporting her, and as she has supported them. So
yeah, no, she's great. I hope she returns quickly, because I always enjoy seeing her. Yeah. All right, Tony.
What do you think about the Draymond Green thing?
I watched the video this morning. Because the headline is always sensational. Like Draymond Green gets ejected 18th time, punches a guy. Uric is the guy's name, right? Mm-hmm. That he was playing. It was Golden State and the Phoenix Suns, and what's this guy's name? It's Nurkic.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looked like they were doing the usual wrestling thing, and he was trying to sell the fact that Nurkic was pushing him around, and he kind of inadvertently swung his arm around and caught the guy in the head. So, I mean, I think they probably were right in tossing him out of the game, but it wasn't like he squared off and threw a right hand in the guy's face.
Yusuf said that. Yusuf said, "I'm glad he didn't choke me."
I mean, he's obviously a wild card. I don't know what you do. I mean, how much more can they do to Draymond Green in terms of trying to inhibit him or impede him from being an asshole? But he seems to persist in that. There's always a guy like that, right? In every sport,
always a guy.
Conrad Dobler, like when he's biting guys' fingers off at the bottom of the pile.
Thank God we don't have it. Thank God we don't have him around anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't wish death upon anybody, but
no, I talking about
in the game. Yeah. All right. No, he's not around anymore. I mean, he checked out a few years ago. All right, so we're going to come back with more. Tony Segreto, old school. We'll do a little old school and a lot of stuff to discuss here, including the absolute falling apart of the Miami Dolphins in that game. I would imagine you want to touch on that, Tony, because I don't know what your memories are of the December decline of the Miami Dolphins, but there have been many December disappointments.
It seems like it's coming back to haunt us.
Yes, I mean, do we end up 9-8 with this club after all of this fanfare? That would really be something, huh? Now that, my friend, would be cause for concern. So we'll discuss that with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants in just a moment. Unless you want to touch on one of those Sarny things, McNeese State, LSU, women's college basketball. You, a giant advocate for women's sports. No one is more of a flag bearer for women's sports than you, Tony Segreto, women's college sports.
But that's even out.
47-0 run in that game.
Even Segreto's like, okay, sorry.
47-0.
Why don't we lead with
watching, that? Jim?
The final was 133-44, an 89-point margin of victory. Holy Gino Auriemma. What are we talking about here? All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that was the first thing I was going to bring up today. It's 8:41.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show. Tony Segreto with us here. We're going old school with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Ed Garcia, Mr. Michigan, the Wolverine himself, is going to join us here in a few minutes and tell us about what's going on, and we'll talk a little football with Ed as well, as we always like to do. Okay, Tony, you saw it, the collapse of the Miami Dolphins. Were you like me? I turned the game off. I was content to maybe get a few extra minutes sleep.
Yep.
Figuring the end of the game could drag on for another half hour, and that's a 14-point lead. The only issue was whether the Dolphins would cover the spread. That seemed improbable since they were laying 14 in the ball game by the time it kicked off. Doubtful that they were going to try and press for another score, although it's not out of the question. But other than that, a little interest. And then I wake up about an hour and a half later. SportsCenter's on with Scott Van Pelt, and he's describing this miraculous comeback.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you? And what were your thoughts? Does that open up just an ugly Pandora's box of question marks about this team's ability to contest and be victorious in those last three games of the season when they face a pretty stiff lineup of competitors?
Yeah. It really does. I'm like Lubie here. We're shaking our heads.
Wow. Yeah. No, Lubie was distraught. I mean, mentally just shot yesterday.
It's mentally distraught. Gosh.
Yeah. No, he was gone.
I was really. I've just now accepted it. Because I forgot for a minute that it's the Dolphins. So like I believed, and that was stupid of me.
I think that we find out next week, and it's not good. You know, when losing by 14, losing by 21, 7, whatever it is, it's not so bad. It's not the end all. But losing the game as they did, with 14 points up, with only 4 or 5 minutes left,
less than 5, about 4 and a hook,
and they blew it like that. They blew it, and there was a gimme. It was a gimme game.
Yes.
It was a gimme.
I mean, just a surefire. If you're ever going to label a choke job, that was it.
That was it.
You're in perfect position. There's no reason to believe, and you even have a shot to win the game at the end and redeem yourselves. And somehow, and this has happened a lot this year in the NFL, where a team scores a minute and a half to go after the other team's been leading the entire ball game, and they come back and find some kind of salvation and get into field goal range, kick a long field goal.
You find that you can't flip the switch that easy, and the momentum you had early gone.
Yeah.
And then Tyreek is out, and they're trying to find themselves. Now, you sit there and you wonder about Tyreek and Tua and the reliability. They relied on each other so much that when Tyreek was out, then Tua is looking around for somewhere else to go. He went to Jalen a few times. But after that, it was all over. I couldn't believe when they made it. Then we're down by 7, and then when they tied it up, I just couldn't believe it. I said to myself, "My God, it's going back."
Yes, it's like the 90s.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like
You've seen a lot of these collapses in December. We came to anticipate them. I don't know that I was expecting it this year. I thought they would. I thought they'd go into those last 3 weeks when they have Dallas, the Ravens, and the Buffalo Bills
11-3.
I thought different.
at 11-3.
I thought different.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Now the Jets come in here, just kind of reinvigorated a little bit.
The Jets are going to be a tough out.
You think so?
Their defense is really good,
right? It wasn't enough to compensate for the complete outright and just maybe unprecedented ineptitude of their offense. But they shook out of that after scoring 0 in the first half with Zach Wilson. So,
and you can expect, just like in the past, you can expect it half and half. The stadium.
You think it's going to be half Jet fans? Wow. Are there Jet fans still here infiltrating stadiums in South Florida?
And no doubt.
You believe that, huh? I don't know. I mean, the Jet fans are almost.
Now they may control the tickets better.
They've gone into hiding, though. I think the Jet fans. I used to hear from a lot of Jet fans. Doing these kind of shows all these years. I mean, especially if the Dolphins were playing the Jets, even in the off season, Jet fans would call in just to pick on Dolphin fans and intimidate them by saying, "Yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter to us. We could go 2-14 as long as the 2 wins were against your stinking Dolphins, Defo." And they would hang up the phone, and then the Dolphin fans would call in. Oh my God, can you believe that? How could you allow that guy to call?
Hey,
I don't sense that anymore.
I meant to tell you that yesterday they passed a law in Vermont that there's now gambling in Vermont.
Oh yeah, good. Well, that wasn't stopping you.
Well, no, but I just go to New Hampshire. But
so now what? I mean, are they gonna? Is there a casino there somewhere in the middle of the woods?
No, January the 11th. They're going to start with FanDuel, DraftKings, and somebody else.
Oh, so they're doing real fucking gambling, unlike stupid ass Florida.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can finally come out of the closet there when it comes to making your wagers. Teach that Italian bookmaker that lives next door to Tommy DeVito.
Luigi.
Yeah.
Luigi.
Well, let's bring on a superstar here, and we always love having this gentleman on the program.
He's got a hat on today.
Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, and a very knowledgeable football guy. So I would imagine somewhere, were you at a Texas Roadhouse, or were you home watching, or even at the game, the Miami Dolphins game against the Tennessee Titans Monday Night Football? a collapse that has Lubie already ready with a
And
big
me-
red panic button, man.
and me just
And Tony weighs in surprisingly negative on this thing. What did you make of that, Ed Garcia? Is it significant in the long run?
You know, I feel it's kind of almost the same boat with the Lions. It's a little bit of experience of, going against some of the very talented teams. We, sometimes just get a little bit overconfident. And, I could almost even assimilate it to Michigan over the last few years. They look solid all year. You put up against some heavyweights, and those mistakes that you forget, they're costly. You can't, it's every single inch counts. And I think that's what kind of played into it a little bit. It's a good gut check. I still think that they'll finish strong. I was not there. I was watching at home, but I will be there this coming Sunday. So,
oh yeah, nice.
Yep. Praying for a big win.
Are you going to be wearing a Gastineau jersey? Are you a Jet fan by any chance?
He's
Oh,
a
no, Lions fan. There you go.
Well,
you can root for somebody in the AFL.
I am split between the Lions and the Dolphins.
Oh, okay.
So
Ed, they're playing Tennessee, and the Lions were playing. Forget who they were playing, but first of all,
Bears.
we
They were playing the Bears and messed around the whole.
we live and die by the Lions and the Dolphins in this house.
Right.
My wife is a big Detroit Lions.
Oh yeah, Detroit. Yeah,
and there was reason for optimism early in the year, but now as soon as they lost this time of the year, and as soon as the Dolphins lost, you can just hear the chants from both the Lions fans and Dolphin fans right now.
Yes. Yeah. I think that they will fare well. I think that there still is an outside chance that they could go all the way. It's going to boil down to experience and minimizing the mistakes. The talent is there. The experience is a little bit lacking. That's just kind of how I see it from the outside. Now, granted, I sell steaks for a living. So I'm not a football guy. I lack that one thing called size, but other than that, that's just my assumption.
Have you thought about a promotion with Dan Campbell at Texas Roadhouse where he eats like a whole cow?
Oh, that would go extremely well. I'll tell you, the guy is a legend in Michigan. I mean,
they love him, man. It's perfect.
Love him.
Could be head of the auto workers union. I mean,
I think they'll make that guy governor today. I mean, they absolutely love it. It's really exciting. I told you I went to the Saints game in New Orleans with the Lions 2 weeks ago, and it was probably 50%. The house was probably 50% Lions, which is amazing because, getting a ticket, right now in Detroit is virtually impossible. So people travel.
Impossible. I try to get tickets for my brother-in-law coming up next week or the week after, and they're tough to get. They're tough to get. I'm working on your tickets too. 5 tickets to December 17th game, right?
Down to three. Got 2.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, are you excited about going to Michigan, the playoff game?
I am.
Playoff.
So I got my flight. I fly out the morning of the 1st. I get to LA around 11 in the morning. And so I will head right over to the stadium, and I'm going to be ready to rock and roll in the Rose Bowl. So haven't chose my outfit yet, but I am putting something pretty sexy together. Maize and blue.
Now, there going to be some other Texas Roadhouse folks there. Is this a Texas Roadhouse outing, or this is just you and
It's me and my beautiful wife, Brittany, will be heading down there. And I'm hoping about another 100,000 fellow Michigan fans.
You got to give your wife credit. She's not a football fan, but she's a Michigan fan because of you.
Yeah. Well, she really is a Bulldog fan, but in this house, we only wear maize and blue. But
thank goodness they're not part of the 4 teams that are in there fighting it out.
Yeah. Jeez, that could be.
Well, we'll never be more with you, Ed Garcia, and hoping that the Michigan Wolverines just trounce Alabama and rub Nick Saban's face in the dirt after the ball game, instead of the customary exchange of pleasantries between Harbaugh and Saban. And I imagine there's no love between those two.
My wife said to me the other day, "Please, Lord, please, have Jim Harbaugh." much as I dislike him, I just want him to beat Saban so bad.
Yes, I am 100% with you. I think that and every Florida State Seminole in the world wants to see that happen. So I'm really pushing for that really hard.
Yep.
So I know we got the holidays coming up. I know you guys every day special at Texas Roadhouse. But is there anything different we're doing with, Christmas and New Year's coming up?
Really nothing different. I mean, that's what makes Texas Roadhouse great. We stick to the basics, we execute, we don't change our menu. I mean, I'm going on 18 years with Texas Roadhouse, and I think I've gone through 6 changes really on our menu. And that allows us to execute really well. So what you can come in and you can get. Now, granted, we have plenty of items that you can choose from. But, we have our early dining special Monday through Thursday before 6. Some restaurants go up to 6:30. That is absolutely fantastic. If you have that time available to come in, during that time, you can get that 6-ounce sirloin, a huge salad, and the sweet potato, baked potato. We have so many amazing sides to choose from. I'll tell you a couple of them are green beans, which I never grew up with green beans, but, we put that little secret in there. We cook it with bacon. Absolutely changes the flavor profile, and what does not taste better with bacon. So that one's absolutely fantastic. Our mashed potatoes, and I'll tell you, one of my other favorites is corn. We do the corn, and I'll tell you a little bit about our secret is we do a lemon pepper butter in there to kind of mix it in, and it just gives it, takes that sweetness with a little bit of that acidity from the lemon. Absolutely awesome.
You guys still do the butcher, because this weather's been freaking amazing for us. Like, it feels like it's great to grill right now. Like, are you guys still doing the butcher shop?
You want to talk about an awesome Christmas present? I mean, you can, if you don't know what to get for a loved one, yes, we have the gift cards, but you can actually send them steaks. I know that some of you got those last year, and we do have the butcher shop. So just look up Texas Roadhouse Butcher Shop. I mean, we have everything from fillets to the sirloin, the strip, and, the big bone-in ribeyes. That is the absolute hero of steaks right there.
You know what, Ed? I think that you could go into Texas Roadhouse today or any day and just order sides. And
no, the sides are great.
Hey, get them for your holiday. It's one less thing for you to cook. If you want 5 pounds of mashed potatoes for the family, hey, we'll go ahead and make that for you. Just call your local Texas Roadhouse and ask for a manager. I mean, shoot me a message. I'll figure it out for you. But I'll tell you, it makes things. I'm going to tell you, I cheat. It's so much easier for me when I'm cooking for 10, 12, even 8 people. That's just one less thing for me to worry about, whether it's the corn, the mashed potatoes, and even, the bacon, sweet potatoes just makes life a little bit easier for me.
And you claim it yours.
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, I live and breathe Texas Roadhouse, and I bleed steak sauce. So they know somehow it's mine.
And always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being with us. And we'll talk again, I guess, several more times before your trip out to the Rose Bowl, which is a great place to catch a football game. So
absolutely.
Thanks so much for being with us here on the show. Appreciate it.
Let's go Blue.
Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen.
Honestly, I think we're all rooting for the Blue.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen, though, Tony. You know that Alabama's going to win it all. And it'll be one of the most suspect championships. I guess if they pound Michigan and go on and beat the winner of the Texas-Washington game, could you say they earned it? They certainly became a little bit better team towards the end of the season. But
the Texas-Washington game is the most intriguing game to me because it matches strength against strength, weakness against weakness.
Yeah, too often. That game will go under, no? You would have to think. Because it makes all perfect sense that they're going to score like 1,000 points in that ball game.
Yeah.
So that's that. Al Michaels gets hosed, I guess, out of a chance to do a ball game for NBC.
And Noah Eagle's going to get it instead. Noah
Eagle, nice. Yes. Yeah. What do you think? I mean, does Al have a legitimate beef there? Is that insulting to a guy who's had a brilliant career?
Yes and no.
All right.
They got to.
I mean, the guy's 79 years old. He's had plenty of time. I mean, maybe it is time to move over for somebody else. Yeah, you could say that.
I think they're writing it on the wall for him.
Well, no, I guess he's done there. I would have to think. He went to the Amazon deal and has got another year to go there. I'm not sure how much longer they stick with him. But NBC.
He had a great run. And it's a shame to see it happen that way. but at the same time,
he's 79. Okay, he's 79. I'm not like, it's okay to be like, all right.
Come on, John Sterling. It is high. It is far. It is caught by the catcher. He hasn't gotten to that point yet. Sterling's been there for a long, long time with the Yankees. He's like 87 or something.
How old is Sterling?
He's in his mid-80s, I believe. Yeah, like 86. Is he that old? I don't know.
No, he's in his mid-80s.
Vin, sure. Did Vin go till what? What was he? Late 80s, 90?
80, yeah.
Yeah, but he was still razor sharp, this guy. Yeah. I don't know about Sterling. Sterling was always kind of out there. I don't know that people were.
And Linda Cohn.
Yeah, Linda Cohn's been around forever, but she still got it. I don't know that she's lost anything. She's still pretty solid. It's funny too to see pictures. They've been showing some promo of her when they first started ESPN Sports Center and she was on it. And it's the age-old question asked at reunions: what happened to you?
Yeah.
Tony, you still look good, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Tony Segreto. So Tony's with you, Lubie. It's over. Johnny, it's over.
I'm not saying it's over. I think they beat the Jets. I think they're staring at a 10-7 or 11-6 season when 2 weeks ago I would have said 13-4. Like, that's my problem.
All right. So what? After the Jets, they're on the road against the Ravens. Is that right? And then home to the Cowboys. And home to the Bills. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, see, I saw them splitting those two games and beating the Bills before. Now, without Connor Williams, I find it hard to believe they're going to win any of those three games. Like, those three teams have actually really good defenses. The Bills' defense is waking up. The Cowboys' defense has been solid all year. And the Ravens' defense has been one of the best all year. Like, those three defenses without Connor Williams, it scares the living shit out of me, to be brutally honest.
Oh, that would really be something, huh? Lose to the Jets somehow and then drop your final four and end up 9-8. Bring back Brian Flores. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I see them beating the Jets. Like, I think
you would have to think so, but you would have never assumed that Tennessee, especially knowing the circumstances of the game, could have possibly prevailed over the Miami Dolphins. And even when they came back from 14 down to take the lead, you still, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, what are you going to do? Come on, Tua, just dink it down the field a little bit. There was enough time to get into field goal range, and then they fail on a 4th and 2. And don't even really get much of a playoff there. Is they tackled Tua behind the line of scrimmage when he was not overwhelmingly pressured. I don't think early in that play.
Like, they got no momentum at all on that drive. Like, the Titans had just had marched on the field twice in that exact situation and scored touchdowns. They just needed a field goal, and they barely got it. I think they maybe got a first down. But they got nothing going on there.
It's amazing, though. I mean, so many teams are sitting right there, 7-6, 6-7. Yeah. It's like you can put an umbrella over like 15 teams, and they're all in that same category. So
that's why that game was so big, because 10-3, you pretty much lock up the division. Like, all you have to do is beat the Jets, and no matter what happens those last 3 games, at least you win the division. At least you're a top 4 seed with a shot at a top 2 seed. That game was huge, and then on top of that, it's the injuries. Like, to me, you can overcome a bad loss. You can't overcome bad injuries. It is what it is. There's no centers. There's no Pro Bowl center. Connor Williams was a top 3 center in the league. You're not finding a top 3 center in week 13 or week 14. Like, it's just not happening.
No. I mean, they were lucky that the line came together as well as it did for most of the season. Because that was another one of those things that you thought, well, geez, that they failed to address the obvious deficiencies they've had for the last 40 years. Since Cooch retired, on the offensive line. All right, we have to run. It was a lot of fun being with you. Our thanks to Tony Segreto, Ed Garcia for joining us here on the program. We'll have our Tony Bruno Sports Network radio show coming up at 10 o'clock, and we'll be featured on nofilter.net throughout the day with the morning briefing, and then later on from the Batch. It's not the Batch, a Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap.
Yes.
That's in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
Right on US 1 there, Federal Highway, Lubie? Is that where it is?
It's on US 1. It's not exactly in downtown, the downtown area. It's a little bit, I think it's just before Broward. Use your GPS, but just remember there is a free parking garage.
Is that right?
That's the thing people have to remember. Yeah, because parking is sort of scarce in the area, but it's actually better than most places because they have a parking garage within walking distance, like a 2-minute walk, and it's free. Yeah, so don't miss
be sure to take advantage of that. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll catch you later on a variety of different platforms as we leave you on that. It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.